What's up, everybody? It's time for another episode of Mysticism and Abundance with this collapsed set of probability waves called Jake Collier. Really, just the universe viewing itself from another vantage point, really, just you viewing the universe from another vantage point. And you are one of the awakened who understands what that means. And I'm so glad you're here. This publication is all about promoting and highlighting the work of the spiritual entrepreneur, the person making this realm, this timeline, a better place, and helping those people to experience abundance in every sense of the word. Today's interview is with a new friend of mine named Farron Feiner, based out of Los Angeles, California. She's a somatic healer, a coach, and a tapestry weaver who's doing some amazing work. Today we talk about the language of the body and how when we're regulated, we begin to understand and pick up on some cues and understand that language that the body speaks. And not only that, but this might just be the key to the kind of positive world change that we all want to see. Before we get into the interview, just a couple of quick announcements. Number one, I don't know if you're listening to this podcast on one of the various platforms or watching on YouTube or whatever, but the best way for you to experience this is definitely going to be on the Substack app. Substack is a social media channel that features individual content creators who do podcasts, who do video, who do live events, and who do written content. It's amazing. It's a really good way for you to get the most depth out of this publication. It's free also, but I'd be honored if you consider a paid subscription because that supports my work directly. It allows us to keep this space ad and sponsor free and allows me to continue to focus on the work of you guys who are making this world a better place. Announcement number two is I have built a village for us on Mighty Networks called the Abundant Village. It's at abundantvillage.mn.co. And that's where you're going to find people who are like-minded, who are trying to get the village mindset spread out further into our culture and who are collaborating in powerful ways to do that. There's a trade space inside where you can trade services with one another without the need for money, or you can receive money for the services that you offer in that classic sense. It's amazing. It's a good way for us to network, and it also will allow you to find people local to your area. So many amazing features available inside that space. There's also a premium membership available if you want to benefit from some of the more advanced courses that specialists are going to be offering in the space. Stuff that's normally hundreds of dollars standalone that you can get all access for pennies on the dollar. So that's Abundant Village. Go check it out, sign up for free, and make connections with people who are trying to get the village mindset out there just like you are. All right, that's it for the announcements. Without further ado, let's jump into this amazing talk with my new friend, Farron Feiner.
I'm so honored to have you here. I just want to honor the space, give us a second to be here because, tech shit kind of got in the way a little bit, but we're here now. So just a second, just take some breaths and prepare ourselves.
And thank you so much for having me and doing this. I'm really honored to co-create this space with you as well. And I prayed on it and called in this co-creation of this conversation, that it reaches who it's meant to reach and that we help install more truth and up-level consciousness as we co-create this space together. So thank you so much for having me too.
Yeah, it's really an honor. And I'll tell you what, we had a meeting last night. I had a little Google Meet with some people, and one of the ladies on there was saying that she feels like she has such a hard time giving language to where she is right now, but it feels so definite inside herself and her heart and in her soul, but she just feels like it's kind of an ineffable space that she's in. And I think what you just said about trying to elevate us, I think we're being touched by something higher right now. I think a lot of people are brushing with it, and it's beautiful and confusing to our cognition. It's almost like it's arising from our unconscious, and there's this threshold between the two that we're trying to bring it into focus right now. And I think that that's the work that people like you are doing. So thank you for coming and meeting with me today. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be so fun. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, and you spoke to that really beautifully and truthfully. And yeah, a lot of people are becoming more and more connected and not sure, what that means, what is actually happening. It is overwhelming. And I think that's why even downloading in incremental ways, and that's part of like the nervous system expansion. It's like, okay, I've expanded, a little more's come through, a little more's come through, and you kind of are on that like
Mm-hmm.
ladder of of figuring it out and having more and more language and conversations like this helps usher in that new level of consciousness, which is hitting everybody who's open to it at the moment. And yeah, we are the ones that are like here to be like, okay, here's the flag, like here's the lighthouse, like you're doing it, you're doing great, like keep going.
Yeah, they called it in the Old Testament Jacob's ladder, which is ironic because that's my name. But yeah, this it's funny because it's like I think it's the pure and virtuous movement compared to like what they would characterize as Babylonian, like that whole idea of being more of the like divorced, disjointed, unnatural, whereas Jacob's ladder is sort of the consciousness ascension and the beings that come and help us with that. And that's exactly what you're doing. So speaking of which, what's it like doing that in LA? Because I mean, the work you're doing, I'm so excited to introduce people to the kind of stuff you're doing. Like if you're watching by video, if you're not watching by video right now, guests, she has this beautiful weaving behind her, and this is a big part of her work. I'd love to hear just like living in LA, how that work is feeling, how the energy feels around you right now related to all this stuff we've been talking about so far.
Living in LA is like a paradox, I guess, because there is part of it that is there's so much community here. There's so many open channels here. There's so much of this movement going on and spirituality and people getting together in community. And there's that aspect. And then there's also like the disconnection that we were speaking to and like that. But I feel like it's maybe just more amplified in a bigger city. Um,
Mm,
so there's also that. And I feel like you kind of just draw it like law of attraction, like you
hmm
just keep drawing in people that are on your level and community that's on your level. And in a beautiful way, I've been able to organically meet a lot of new friends and people that are on the same level, on the path, like on this journey. So I am fortunate that at this stage, and it has been a lot of other things falling off and a long journey, but I am surrounded by people that we can support one another through this path, have a little bit of a deeper understanding, can have open conversations about whatever's going on. And yeah, I'm not sure if we touched on this, but being mentored by a somatic energy master.
Wow.
And I've been working with him for a little over a year, and there's a group of us doing that. So all that to say is I'm very submerged in people doing the work and doing the work. So I don't think it matters where I go. I've fallen into more of a confidence in like who I am, what I'm here to do, and acceptance that like it doesn't need to be forced onto anybody or any situation. Those that are open to it, I attract, and those that aren't, like, much love, like, see you later.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of who you are and what you're doing, man, I'd love to jump into that. So fair. And what are you up to? And how is your work kind of taking shape in the world right now?
I am up to a lot right now, a lot of exciting stuff. I just have been developing a course I'm calling the Embodiment Accelerator. I feel really passionate about helping people move from mind into somatics. And that is also was a huge part of my journey, and where I see the next level of growth for the collective happening is really understanding that healing is a multi-pronged approach. And we really need mind, body, and spirit to be on board. And the body is such a huge part of our journey, and being able to take care of the body temple, expand the nervous system, being able to really hold higher frequencies, meaning being able to stay regulated as things are stripped, as change happens, as outside stresses affect us. And personally, my journey went through, which I think we'll get into, my own healing journey of overcoming an autoimmune disease, and led me to a deeper understanding of the body is working with us to show us when we're out of balance, and being able to have a foundation to stabilize the nervous system, and then being able to grow and expand from that place. And with the right tools and information, all the chronic disease, chronic illnesses, chronic pain, all of that stuff is unprocessed emotional trauma and different things that we're keeping in our system. So being able to help spread the information of that and teach people basic fundamental information about the body, about moving energy, your own energy through the body, and healing. So that's one basket. And then another kind of angle to the same thing would be the energy work that I'm doing with Dr. John Armorall. Um, yeah, and he's teaching the same thing kind of in a different shape. He works with the energy fields and actual parameters in the body where you can tell what is being constricted where, like where we're holding fight, flight, freeze, when we're holding unprocessed emotions, where we're holding stress, where we're ruminating. Body takes on different adaptation patterns. So his work looks a little bit more hands-on than what we think of energy work, I guess, in the
Yeah.
mainstream, and goes off of actual parameters in the body and bringing available energy to the body where there's constriction. Uh, a little bit of his work was on Netflix on Goop Lab. He's the Energy Experience episode. If anybody's interested in him, he's so incredible. And then, yeah, I have a lot of things happening. Then I do, as you pointed out, I make textile designs. I do wall hanging weavings, and I also work with clients and different spaces to make high frequency weavings to have as heirlooms and art pieces, and bring that elevated sense of energy to a space, because as we all know, everything is energy, and what we surround ourselves with is really a reflection of how we're feeling about ourselves on the inside, and can be used for healing and ascension as well. Like, oh, do I have something that my mom gave me that I just have because she gave it to me, but I don't really like it, but I don't feel like I could get rid of it? Or is the space that I'm in like bringing me joy and ease, kind of?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I will say too, I'm all for a good crystal, right? Like the energy that gets carried in those. But I think that there's a really specific and beautiful energy that's carried in the work that you're doing with those textiles, with that weaving, because it's a very intentional, conscious piece of art that kind of brings intention and your heart into a person's home. So I've looked through all of those on your website, which looks amazing, by the way. It's beautiful stuff. So if you get a chance to check her out, we'll be sharing her website information at the end of the show. Speaking of, the work that you're doing, you and I in our pre-interview covered some stuff that we're going to dive into really deep in a minute. But the kind of somatic and bringing the body into really a new scientific understanding and how it affects our psyche and our psychology and all this stuff. I feel like some people have that all lumped into this very new age way of thinking, and they've sort of put new age into this. They've relegated it into a negative place in their minds for whatever reason, because it feels shapeless. But I think what's beautiful about what you're doing is the definite shape that it gives a person, not just to like connect in more of a spiritual way, but to bring their emotions and their thoughts and their regulation of their heartbeat and all of this stuff into greater focus, and to feel a greater human expression from that. It's so beautiful. Do you bring a specific, just out of my own curiosity, as somebody who came from a really rigid fundamental background, do you bring a spiritual sort of foundation to this, or are you kind of in more of a universal space? I found that a lot of people that I speak to are. I'm just curious what your history is.
Yeah, it came about for me personally as somebody that went from like completely not religious to evolving spiritually. So that's how it came about for me in that
Mm,
language. So in that respect, I believe in God. I believe in universal source consciousness. And I would never be anything but my own authentic expression of that.
yeah.
And I am happy to meet people where they're at. However, I'm finding who's attracted to me and who is coming to me are also people that are somewhere along the path. You know, they know, or even if they're not like fully in, they feel that there's somewhere something bigger, something greater is happening. There's a reason for it. And I think that's embedded in our DNA.
Mm,
So I think, you know, somewhere if you're pausing at any moment to take stuff in, there is a sense of something greater is at play, and that can look different for everyone. But I do bring it in because that's how I feel truth moving through me.
yeah, that's a beautiful way to say that. And I think also that you're giving, like we were talking about, you're giving someone something definite to hold on to. It's like taking the whole idea that, oh, I'm somewhere on the path, or I'm somewhere on the journey. Well, you're actually grounding them in their own experience, and you're asking them to trust that and to take steps with you that make it so real. And I think we've been conditioned in a lot of ways by these, various social conditioning methods around us to not trust our experience. So I'm glad that you're bringing people home to that at such an individual level. I think that the collective moves upward when the individual moves inward. So that's what you're adding to the conversation. Yeah, it's pretty good. So speaking of grounding in the experience, your experience and what's brought you to where you are now and the work that you're doing, I know you've healed yourself from some pretty crazy stuff. Do you want to share a little bit about that, as much as you're comfortable doing, without re-traumatizing yourself with that old story?
It's thank you. Thank you so much. It's definitely processed. I'm not that person anymore. And yeah, thank you for speaking to that. And I do believe like really what brought me to this point was, for me, science was proving spirituality
Yeah.
and proving universal consciousness. And I did end up kind of inadvertently on a spiritual journey that was just meant to be like, I've hit a rock bottom. I just need help. I need out of this. And that led me to eventually understanding the body as a spiritual, holistic experience, understanding more of how the body is a manifestation of our subconscious mind, and like an output of what is actually being held in our subconscious mind. And to back up, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis at 16 years old. I was hospitalized for 10 days. I had a pretty extreme case of it. Later on, my gastroenterologist told me I went from being one of the worst cases he's ever seen to one of the best cases he's ever
Mm,
seen.
mm,
Because after I went through all that in the hospital and then getting on medication and being on medication, I was pretty much, had no asymptomatic, but through medication. Then then eventually through my learnings and understandings, I I knew it was coming. I was working up to coming off medication, and I was fearful and didn't have enough available energy to mobilize and make that move yet. And one morning I woke up and I heard, "You're coming off medication today." And I knew it was, and that's only happened, like, I can count the number of times something like that voice has come in like that. And I freaked out and I cried. But I knew that what was going on, just because I wasn't having any symptoms, didn't mean it wasn't still happening in my body. Didn't mean that it wasn't still popping out in other places and affecting my body. And I did come off medication, and I did that in conjunction with a naturopathic doctor. So I was getting blood tests and checking my levels and all of that while I was doing that. And I still do. I still see a naturopathic doctor, check your blood levels, all of that.
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, so then I ended up coming off medication, and it's been almost 3 years. No symptoms, completely fine. For me personally, it took about 5 months for symptoms to start subsiding and things to start changing. But it was a lot of inner child work. It was a lot of fear and anger and a lot of emotions that had been trapped in that area in my emotional body.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And was there a moment, this is just, I'm curious. I feel like we've been so divorced from the language of our own bodies that like I feel like we don't give ourselves presence to the moments where these victories happen. And it could be because we don't even recognize them, you know. Was there a moment that you felt like, holy crap, this worked. I feel like I've unlocked something. And did that kind of help to lead you into what you're doing now with your coaching and energy healing and all of this stuff you're doing?
Yeah. I'm taking in what you said because there's so much there. Uh, I mean, part of what I look at, like my coaching and my guidance is to help people start understanding how to make that space for their bodies to speak, how to bring that connection back into the body, the sensations in the body and the felt sense in the body. It's so important because when you give it space, actual space to um, regulate and go into homeostasis, it will start speaking and talking to you. And then I just forgot the question that you just asked me.
That's all right. No, the moment, was there a moment for you where you kind of had that aha, and do you feel like you can replicate that for people now? I want to talk about the body's wisdom and how you're kind of practicing that.
Okay. I think there was so many micro things that were happening, and it really started with building a foundation of trust in myself and in the body. And I think that opens the door wider and wider to trusting your higher self or your intuition or those hits, and getting to know more when being able to feel more when your body is in contraction versus when it's in expansion, being more in tuned with, oh, there's a little bit of what I would label as anxiety happening. Um, this is what I feel. This is where I feel it. Knowing like, okay, my jaw's a little tighter today. I'm stressing about something. Starting to tune into that stuff and listening more to know when like, oh, I require a little bit more regulation and a check-in, what's happening here. Like, okay, I've noticed this is happening. Sometimes, like I'm moving or I'm going through a breakup or something's happening and you're well aware of what it is. Sometimes it's just a good check-in. But building up that relationship, I think then builds up more and more of that trust and knowing like this feels right, even if it feels scary, versus
Mm,
like this is a no for me. And there's also no wrong answer to that. So while we're building that up, yes, we go see healers, we have people along our healing journey, but knowing that, and we heal in community and we're meant to, but knowing that you are your own healer. Your body knows how to heal. The source consciousness that heals a cut, that beats your heart, the body knows how to do that. And it's just a matter of getting in tune with it and building a foundation for it and giving it the space to do that and not outsourcing that power to anyone else. Ultimately, everybody's viewing through the lens of their own um, traumas, their own life, and and everything that's happened to them, and you know yourself best. And it's just a process, I think, getting there to take that power back where you're trusting yourself over everyone else, or even trusting that in the first place.
Yeah.
So there
Yeah.
wasn't like
Man.
a moment. I think when I look back, so much went into building that, but it did kind of like a domino kind of was seamlessly piecing itself together at the time.
Yeah. That's really good. This connection that you made about, man, my jaw feels a little tighter today. I must be stressing about something. I feel like where a lot of people are gonna really click with you right now is like if you're reaching for a Tylenol bottle or aspirin or whatever, or if you're medicating with some sort of coping mechanism that helps you to feel calm, or if you're smoking weed every day, or if you're hitting the bottle a little too often or whatever, that you need to step back for a moment and realize you are responding to something your body is telling you. You just haven't made a practice out of listening. And so this person that you're listening to, this soul who's here to help guide you back into this is what you need in your life. And I hope that you'll connect with her and with people like her to win back your own connection to this source. I recently heard this Sikh teacher saying that, you're always in your mother's lap. Your heart is beating. Your brain is working. Your lungs are breathing. You don't have to make any of that happen. You're always in your mother's lap. It's just a consciousness of the fact that you're there that we forget. So yeah, this work you're doing, the physical manifestations of these symptoms that I think people are not recognizing. Are there some specifics? I mean, you're an expert. You talked about the clenched jaw and the stress. Are there other things that people might be able, like you could hand some people some signposts for some, hey, you might actually need this and not realize it. Your body might be telling you something and you're not catching the signals. Are there specifics you could point out?
Definitely. I mean, if you can't sleep, if you're looping on any kind of thought, everybody is going to experience things a little bit differently based on how they hold and where they hold. And the body is speaking a language back to us. Um, Dr. Candace Pert was a neuroscientist who discovered something called neuropeptides. And what she discovered was these neuropeptides come when emotional traumas aren't processed, and we actually store them in places we associate with the trauma. So when you hear people talk about, maybe if there was sexual trauma it'll be stored in your root chakra and then express like in the energetics of that area, because this is where these neuropeptides are being stored. And it goes to say that that's part of your subconscious mind expressing, right? So when we have symptoms, there is a way that is very much in our minds, but there is a way to navigate these symptoms to give us a little bit more understanding of what could be under the hood of the car. And that said, I do want to acknowledge that medication served me for 25 years when I wasn't ready to come off it, and everything has its time and its place. But yeah, the invitation is to um look under the hood a little bit more and just know that there's something deeper going on, exactly like you're saying. Or when you're numbing out, we've all been there. um Totally understandable, but just know like, okay, what maybe am I not looking at here? And there's also, I mean, Chinese medicine has been mapping out the body for thousands and thousands of years. There's also German new medicine you can look into, which will also tell you exactly like what kind of subconscious, in German new medicine, they call it conflict, or what kind of energies are being stored where in the body. And it can be really subtle. Like sometimes I have clients that just say like, I feel disconnected, like they can't put their finger on it. Um, because that's exactly what it is. There's no neural circuitry built up because especially in Western culture, where we put children in school at like 3, 4, 5 years old and start automatically putting children in their brains, in their minds, and start treating the body as secondary, if at all, or just something that carries our mind and our head around. And also in Western medicine, that's how we treat symptoms and illness. We treat the symptoms and we don't actually treat the whole holistic view of what is really happening. And now there's totally enough science and information out there that it is a body mind, it is one, they're interchangeable. If you got a pain in your body, you got a pain in your brain. Even if it's, just a sore, oh, my neck is sore, which I hear all the time, but I know that that's signaling to me there's actually a weakness of energy flowing there for whatever, reasons based on the person. That's what that's showing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's really good. Yeah, I feel like it's funny. I was talking to a friend today. I'm working on this spiritual musical album with some friends called Sono Ceremonia. Some really cool people I think you'd really like to meet. But we were talking, Howard and I were talking about this song that I'm going to be working on with him. And he was saying, I just really feel like we're going to see a cartoon-like ending to all of this stuff that's going on around us in media, all this propaganda and stuff. The curtains are going to fall and it's the Wizard of Oz. And, it's a happy ending because we get to realize it. Well, in the same way, it just reminded me, I had that conversation a minute ago, and the numbing out that we've all done. I mean, there's a cartoon-like propaganda around alcohol and tobacco and those industries and how they were taxed and how they were put into our media. So if you're numbing out with that because you think it's cool and you see somebody who's living in a more enlightened state and you feel like they're out of touch because they're not drinking and smoking and all of this stuff, it could be because you've actually bought into the narrative that those things are socially acceptable and cool, and brought that into your psyche instead of allowing yourself to realize that you're divorced from your nature when you're doing that. And you're divorced from your nature in all of these different ways that I'm so glad we're talking about bringing people back home to that today.
I would just love to add that, like, we're also force fed this, and you can look at alcohol like, oh, the Great Depression happens. Oh, prohibition, like let's let people drink again. And in time, and, cannabis used to be like 5% THC. Now it's like 95% THC. Like, just, yes, it's been socially acceptable and forced down our throats, but know that with alcohol, it is a complete toxin that they're using to force feed the masses and keep you diluted and, yes, keep you disconnected from your power. Same with medications, same with any kind of numbing out behavior. I will speak to cannabis as a beautiful plant ally. Cannabis is a psychedelic. As somebody with complex PTSD in their system, for me, using cannabis consciously has been really helpful to help my system let go. That said, yes, it can be addictive and abused, and you don't want to be breathing smoke into your lungs, like where maybe a vaporizer would come in would be better. And that's a whole side conversation to itself. But it does get a bad rap to me because it has been such a beautiful plant ally for me as well. So I'm just adding that in.
No, I'm so glad you did. Yeah.
Just to be aware of, just to be aware of all the ways that your attention is being taken from you, that your power is being taken from you. None of it is wrong, but I think with starting to be aware, like when I was in my 20s, you weren't going to tell me not to drink. Like, I actually got the hit. That was something that I got a few years back. I haven't drank now for like 3 years, but like a few years before that, I got a hit of stop drinking, and I was like, no, thank you. And it took a while, and it took me like a month of not drinking before I was like, oh my God, my intuition is so clear. I feel so much better. Like,
yeah.
but I was also in this right space and time for that. So I know everyone is on their own trajectory with that. And I just want to acknowledge that no one is wrong, nothing is bad. It's just more of a curiosity and
Yeah.
just thinking about like, okay, my body is made up of everything that I'm eating and putting on it, along with all the toxins in the air and all the stuff in our food, and just knowing like my body is how energy flows through me, right? It's how more source consciousness flows through me, and healing is part of releasing where there's constriction and contraction in order to allow higher frequencies, more source in us. And that
Yeah.
includes what we're consuming, um, not only internally, but also externally. What's your spiritual diet look like? And I think it's so awesome that you're in a band and making music to uplift consciousness and to build it. Because when you start realizing like how programming is exactly that,
Yeah.
programming, um,
Mhm.
and how, you know, most of Hollywood is owned by the government and they have a huge budget to make Hollywood movies, to also keep you numb, keep you in your 9 to 5, keep you in your little bubble, all of that stuff. I'm not going down like a conspiracy rabbit hole. You can look this stuff up, but also just be aware of everything that you are being fed is your spiritual diet too, and you're taking it in, and it's energy, right? And if the energy of somebody that made something is maybe a little bit more negative, not that people are meaning to even all of the time be at that level, but sometimes it is, then maybe
Mhm.
want to pay attention to how it feels in your body, want to pay attention to what the messaging is, and start shifting your consciousness maybe out of stuff that isn't feeling as aligned.
Yeah. No, you picked up exactly what I laid down. It's less about the substance or the plant or the whatever. Even tobacco. I mean, like tobacco is just a plant, man. It's just been kind of abused and turned into this horticultural, heavily taxed. Now it's finally, kind of coming back in some like How to Change Your Mind, Michael Pollan. It's sort of people are kind of restoring the beauty of that plant. Cannabis, same thing.
I would
It's Go ahead.
also, sorry to cut you off, but
That's
also
okay.
on tobacco, I have organic pure tobacco, not what they put in cigarettes. And it's an amazing plant to clear your energy with, because I'm working energetically with people. And it's not something where you can like smoke a whole cigarette. It's like I take a cup, I thank it, ask it for its medicine, ask it to clear my energy field, and I clear my energy field with it, as it was used for, for thousands of years, as plants have evolved with humans to help us. We've evolved together. So
Yeah, that's so
just to,
true.
just to add that.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, and that conditioning piece, I mean, I'm obsessed with that, but like that's my work. So let's get let's get back into you and what you're doing. You're so aware. You're on the level. I want to know like this weaving thing. Let's kind of come back to it. Let's come back to these really amazing tapestries and to that spiritual significance for you. I'm just curious like how you started with that and kind of what it's meaning to you right now as you work through these beautiful pieces.
Thank you so much. Uh, I was in fashion design in college, and I went to Cal State Long Beach, and what was kind of accessible at the time was like surf and sport, and it was really focused on sewing, and that really wasn't what I was interested in as far as fashion design goes. So I was like, let me switch to there was a textile design program that was part of the art program that interested me more. And it was on heddle looms, which are floor foot pedal looms. So it was the first time. So I started taking that class, and it was the first time what I now know is like I experienced like flow state. I was like, oh, this is it. This is all I want to do. I feel really able to like express myself. And I was just into it. And yeah, I ended up graduating college. I was in the fashion industry for a while. And when I got out of the fashion industry, I started weaving again. And at the time, I just felt that connection to it. Like felt like freedom, it felt like openness. And as I've evolved on my spiritual path, my designs have evolved, the frequency of the weavings have evolved, the meaning that they've been able to take on has evolved. And yeah, it's interesting. I actually was flown to Madrid 2.5 years ago to do a beginning weaving course for this online platform called Domestika. They're international. They're bigger like overseas. Yeah, they're bigger overseas than they are here. But they're online, so you can get it. And it just came out. Like they just launched it when I was at Esalen on a retreat. Like they emailed me like, "Oh, it's coming out." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And
Yeah.
I find it interesting. I'm not quite sure, what the lesson is or what kind of energy is moving in that way, but I was like, "Oh, interesting," because I had kind of th- thought and was okay with like, oh, maybe it'll never come out, and that's
Yeah.
fine. That's fine too. But I also fell really in love with like that course that I made too, because it was so much about how tapping into your intuition and ways to connect with yourself is how creativity streams through you, no matter what that looks like for you. But the more you're connected inwards, the more open your channel is to create. Like we are creators, literally, like we're
Oh
meant to
yeah.
mobilize energy and bring things into form however we feel called to. And that's what happens with my weavings. And that's what happens when I work with clients making weavings. It's a co-creation, but it's kind of like, what do I sense from that person? What are the like feelings of energy that I'm picking up on and bringing it into form for them
Mm.
to have as a piece emanating that energy.
Yeah. You mentioned the flow state. As a musician, that's where we're always trying to get all the time, and it's such a beautiful place to be. You really in live performance, that's where it really like just improvising with some people. That's what I felt like you were describing when you were working on the loom was this sort of improvisational flow state. And then when you hear it back, like if I were to hear a recording, I feel like I could give a shape to what I was feeling. But you get to record this in this form that hangs on this wall behind you. I'm curious, like when you name a piece, is there like a feeling attached to it? Like let's take for example one of the latest ones you've made. What did you name it, and what feelings were arising in you? What did you kind of transmute into that work?
Mm. Um, well, one that comes to mind is like his embrace. And at the time, I was transmuting what the divine masculine feels like in me because I had been projecting it out onto men in my life or people that I had crushes on or this and that, and kind of just noticing like literally where I'm throwing energy out instead of being the container to receive, like standing in my own energy. And it was really about taking that energy back, understanding that that energy is within me, it's not outside of me. So even though there is some like past trauma that has conditioned me to naturally like chemically feel a way, knowing that I can sit through that, assess what's happening, be with that feeling and take that power back. And that when I'm throwing energy that way, it's not actually the divine masculine that I'm looking for anyway. And that safety and that love is going to be found within me first. And then it will manifest outside of me because it's something that's already felt. It's not something that I'm looking to take. And it's not something that I need from an outside source. And so that was the impetus of like how would I feel? I'd feel really grounded and supported and safe with this person. I feel like this person would be able to hold um, all of my emotional flows without getting lost in it, like hold that stable groundedness in that for me. Not for me, but I find like because of the difference between men and women, like just fun foundational differences, like sometimes
Hmm.
men have had a harder time for um me having like maybe a big experience, not even like projected onto them, but I am a woman. I feel a lot, like, and we're
Yeah.
built differently, and some men can't hold that. Not again, not like nobody is responsible for me besides me, but also like
Yeah.
being able to be with someone who's like, I got you, like do what you
Yeah.
need to do, and just hold it in that way. Yeah, so and just like a calmer, deep love, not like a needing. So
Yeah.
that was kind of like what was coming up for me was like the true essence of how I personally feel about divine masculine as I made that piece.
Yeah. That's such a great example. Um, Man, there's just like there's a whole story in there. I love that. And I love actually you stopped for a minute and you said not for me. And I love that because you all at once you were claiming your own autonomy and power. But at the same time, my wife and I are reading through a book by John Wellwood called Journey of the Heart, um, The Path of Conscious Love. Really, really powerful book for partners about sort of the symbiotic spiritual path that monogamous arrangement can create for two people. And in that book, I feel like this servant heart that comes through, where you have to be grounded on earth and you also have to be looking to the sky. That's like the human condition. As we do that together, I feel like it's okay for you to allow someone to hold that for you. Because you're perfectly capable of holding it, and you're showing us that right now. But yeah, I just want to open that energy in that channel like that. That's a beautiful idea for someone to hold it with you and even for you at times if that's what you need. So what a beautiful story that's in that tapestry. And I think this is an excellent segue because what's funny is so many of these interviews I've had, it's so many women that I talk to. It's
You're
amazing.
doing the work, baby. I get it. I get it.
Yeah, you are. I mean, the Aquarian age is just popping off. But in that also comes the fact that most of these people work with women as well. But you've mentioned that you do end up working with quite a few men as well in your practice. And I'm just curious how that takes shape. And really what I'm trying to drive at is how people can get connected to you to do this work with you and what it's looking like for you to work with men. How are the different ways you're noticing men and women are conditioned in processing emotions, and how does that kind of characterize itself in your practice?
Oh my gosh, that's such a huge question. Also, thank you for that reflection about letting a man hold it for me. That really like hit my heart. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, you can receive too. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Oof, you just asked like such a mouthful. And I'm only speaking from personal experiences. Everyone is a snowflake and everything is very nuanced for
Mm,
sure.
yeah.
But I feel like men have been done a disservice in a lot of ways. And the way that they aren't connected to their bodies, to their emotions as much as women are. I mean, for several reasons, we're also built differently. So there's a
Mm.
fundamental difference there. It's not like men are going to be like as emotionally processing or connected the way women are. So, just just putting that out there too, like the
I
expect
totally agree, by the way. Don't worry. I totally agree.
I mean, men biologically, men work in 24-hour cycles where they make testosterone in 24-hour cycles. Women work in monthly bases, and we're producing different hormones daily, as well as the womb space of literally where creation comes in through. It's just a direct portal to God, to consciousness, and it's built that way by design because we're meant for one another. We're meant to, like, everything in the universe is about balance, and we're meant to balance one another out. So working with men is different because they think differently. Their connection is different. I work more with men on energy work, to be honest, than I do in embodiment work, even though I would suggest that men need embodiment work.
Yeah, I agree.
But it is just interesting because I think the energy work is kind of like feels safer for them to touch maybe, because also when you have so many emotions that you haven't touched for so long, I mean, a lot of men are at the point where, at least that I've come in contact with, like, they're using a feelings wheel to, like, identify what feeling is what and when and, stuff like that, and I think the energy work opens up a space where they can start having somatic awareness and sensation on a deeper level that doesn't feel as overwhelming maybe for them,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
as maybe like not as manly, or whatever is going on in their in how they personally are looking for it. um, but there is that call where women have now gone so far into healing and working on themselves and coming a long way as far as quote unquote needing a man, meaning like, okay, now women are making their own money, have their own careers, all that stuff. When if you look back, it really hasn't been happening for that long. Um, that it's actually gotten to the point where now men are they have to, like, they have no other choice, and a lot of, if you want to keep evolving, you want to be chosen back, like, and obviously this is gradual and happening over time, but like I said, I'm in community with a lot of beautiful souls who are just on this path, so I'm not discrediting or discounting the fact that there are a lot of men, like, doing the work, doing the best that they can with what they got, and um it just needs to be a little bit, they need a kick in the pants even from that, but
sure.
I see it happening because that's where evolution is going, to the point where, also I think women have gone so the opposite direction that that's why you're seeing, like, this movement for the feminine to come back into play too. It's everything is has to go to extremes and then is, like, slowly balancing itself out,
Yeah,
but also with women, if we take it to the body, way higher diagnosis of autoimmune and different cancers and different ailments happen to women
hmm,
because of how much they're suppressing as well, which is why I think, like, that work, that embodiment piece of, like, women kind of being aware, like, okay, I still am exhausted, or I still have, like, this chronic condition, like, all kinds of different symptoms, or I
yeah,
don't sleep well, and just, like, pushing through for their family, for their kids, for whatever's going on in their lives, but knowing, like, this is not, I can't sustain this, or there has to be something else happening here, is kind of like where I meet women at.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful stuff. And I was going to say, one clear way that men and women are different is that when men get a kick in the pants, it feels very different from when women do. You get a very visceral sensation when you get kicked in the pants. But but you
Really?
you yeah, but you really brought up a very important word that keeps coming up. I have sort of a framework that I developed about just the basics of positive world change and building village culture. And one of the things that comes up in that framework is the idea that balance is how leverage is created. If you're pushed off balance, that's when you can't wrestle. That's when you can't, create the necessary force or leverage on whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. So yeah, things getting spun out to their extremes, to then, that centrifugal force, to then finally find the strength to pull back toward the middle, to find balance. That's where the leverage is created. And in my context there, I'm talking to positive world change and to, intentional communities, and, to even just small things like the way we spend our money, being more conscious of that, and taking it, divesting it from this system and investing it into this one, with conscious awareness from a balance perspective. That's where we create that leverage.
I love that. And to add to that, when we have so much fight or flight in our system, it's contraction, it's density. It's actually making us way more down, and then we don't have that life force energy available to mobilize as much.
Yeah.
See those opportunities to be at that next level, and then to take action, right? So part of getting into the body and grounding in the body and building a foundation of stability for the nervous system frees up that energy to mobilize, to make new decisions, to contribute, to go after whatever you're about to get it, like all of those
Yeah.
things as well, from an just energy standpoint too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the mindfulness creates the seeing without being that allows us to, just maintain an awareness to this lack of balance, to the narratives that throw us off balance, that polarize, and to the narratives that keep us divorced from our own nature, from the source within us, and from our very bodies. So that's why you're on this podcast, Farron. I want you to tell people where they can find you, how they can work with you, because I know they're going to be chomping at the bit to do it. Where can they find you? Let's talk about that.
I'm on the usual places. I have a website, farronfeinercoaching.com. That's also same as my Instagram handle, Farron Feiner Coaching, FarronFeiner. My weaving Instagram is just Farron Feiner, and that Instagram website is farronfeiner.com. I'm on Substack, Embodied
Yeah.
Letters. You can email me. You can reach out on the Insta. You can DM me, whatever you got. I would love to hear from you. Love to hear what's going on in your world. Yeah,
Yeah.
around.
Great. Well, hopefully we can get lots of people connected to you, because I'm a believer. All right. Farron, thank you so much for coming on. What a beautiful soul you are. What amazing work you're doing. I'm just so grateful for you. Thank you for spending this time with me today.
Oh my gosh, Jake, thank you so much for having me on. This was so much fun. And thank you for all the work you're doing and putting out people out there and building the new world and the new earth together. So thank you so much. This was awesome.
Yeah. We'll see you soon, I'm sure.
Yeah. See ya.